was actually the best gathering we had so far in terms of facilities. So there'll be workshops. The whole thing is pretty much just self-organizing.
Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Vine Podcast. I'm your host, Cormac, and today we have Heiko Vermeulen. Welcome, Heiko.
Hello.
Do you want to just give us a quick introduction there, please?
My name is Heiko. I'm a Dutchman originally. I live in Portaferry, County Down, and I run a small permaculture small holding from here, known as the Portaferry Permaculture Project, or the Permaferry for short. And I'm also a forager. I'm a musician. I'm involved with setting up the first co-housing project on the island of Ireland in Portaferry, and I'm also part of the steering committee for the All Ireland Permaculture Gathering. Have been so for about 10 years now. So and I believe the latter bit is what you wanted to talk to me about today, mostly.
Yeah, definitely get on that. I'm looking forward to it. But intrepid about it, but we'll get to that. But we just get a background on yourself first and share your story, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So in this podcast, we talk about careers, education, business. We're trying to encourage people to sort of get into permaculture, and one of the ways we think, well, you're going to have to earn a living from it. But we always start from the beginning. How did you discover permaculture?
I lived in Italy for 10 years, and we had a plot of land there. I'm really a city raised, so I wasn't much into planting stuff and all that. So we got a plot of land where we lived in Italy. And it was a very challenging piece of land. It was an average 40-degree gradient at sort of over 18 terraces, and it was hard work. So I had a blog at the time, sort of writing about what our experiences and what we were doing, and quite a few followers. I still have. I even haven't written a thing for 10 years. I still get about 5,000 hits a month. So but it's sort of quite a few of the followers then sort of started, have you tried permaculture? And I thought, don't really know anything about it. And then the next thing, there was a PDC, permaculture design course offered near us in Italy for a very reasonable price, and so I took that, and it kind of changed my life, basically. I realized that I could do things a lot easier than I was doing. To me, permaculture is about doing as little as possible, and letting nature do the work. And it worked extremely well for me. So it would be and I got involved with the whole permaculture network in Italy in particular, then in Europe in general. Spent a bit of time in Bulgaria as well. But my wife, she's originally from Northern Ireland, and she has a disability. And so it was becoming quite difficult for her living abroad. So we returned to Northern Ireland, and got a small house with an acre of land on it, and started doing the same here. And I sort of immediately, as soon as I got back here, sort of put my feelers out for the permaculture movement in Ireland. And made contacts, and was immediately drafted into organizing the 2015 All Ireland Permaculture Gathering, which was held in Hillsborough, and been there ever since, sort of thing. So now I'm involved with all sorts of things. I'm with the website permaculture.ie, and so. A lot of the inquiries to that go to me, basically. So I kind of find myself at the hub of things, so to speak.
It must have been a big change going from Italy to Northern Ireland. I think that was around about 2015, was it?
When Yeah, 2014. Yeah,
Yeah.
2014. We came from Italy to Northern Ireland. Yes, I mean, like, obviously the climate is different, but certainly where we are in Portaferry, there's a certain community spirit here, which we very much experienced in our village in Italy as well. And so the I mean, obviously, for my wife, the language barrier wasn't there, and so it's yeah, no, it's good. It's been good, a good change.
So you said you done your PDC in Italy, and you said that that changed your outlook and things,
Yeah.
and how you approach the land. You want to tell us a bit more about that and changes you made once you got your PDC?
Well, as I say, the land we had in Italy was very, very challenging. And we just learned to um, uh, basically, for starters, plant more trees to stabilize the land, and just generally grow stuff that is less work intensive. We've gone on to a lot of perennials. I mean, here in my plot here, I grow almost exclusively perennials or things that see themselves out. I don't do annuals. And let kind of nature do its own thing. We went to completely no dig, and doing the same here. So and especially, I'm not getting any younger. All these things that most conventional gardeners do, I don't do. I hardly do any weeding. I mean, I chop the jungle back every now and then for access, sort of thing. But so generally, now. I mean, sort of in the 10 years that I've been here, back in Portaferry, we've developed a basically big food forest that pretty much looks after itself. And being a forager as well, I mean, even the weeds that do come up, I eat most of them, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I'm moving away from the annuals just because I don't have the time, and I found I was just getting frustrated because stuff was either like tomatoes, having to maintain them and
Yeah,
pinch them. I would go back after a month and they'd be everywhere.
yeah.
It was just as that. I was like, right, I'm not doing that anymore. So started they moved towards the more perennials. How did you find the climate here? Because in designing, like we're a zone, like USDA zone 9.
Yeah.
Although we're a 9, we don't get that cold, but we don't get that warm either.
Yep. I mean,
How have
like,
you?
there's the particular location where I am, Portaferry, has a very special microclimate. Actually, it's probably the warmest spot in all of Northern Ireland. Certainly in the winter, we don't get frost, we don't get snow, and so because we're on the peninsula, we're sort of surrounded by two bodies of water. So frost is not a big problem. That's the odd night frost, but basically just a ground frost, which is gone by 10 o'clock or something. So and yeah, so the summers are not great, of course, but and very unreliable. I mean, they've become more unreliable as well, I think, over the last few years. But also, it's also the driest spot in all of Ireland where we are. We only get about just over 800 millimeters of rain, compared to where we were in Italy. We had 1,500, actually double. That's the Mediterranean. But mind you, there it comes down in huge chunks in the winter. Whilst here it's kind of like spread like over the year, sort of evenly. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually growing grapes outdoors. I made 5 liters of wine, grape wine last year, from outdoor grown grapes. So it's you have to kind of adjust. Yes, and tomatoes is one of the things that you have to. I mean, like in Italy, I just stuck them in the ground and they grew and gave me tomatoes. So here, it's much more of a challenge. You have to have them in ideally the polytunnel, and and fuss over them and things like that. So so I've kind of given up on tomatoes, and things like that. So to at least growing them. So yeah, but yeah, no, but the climate is not bad. It could be it could be a lot worse.
Yeah,
We
see,
don't have don't have the big droughts that we had in Italy, for example.
yeah, and we get the light here as well. I think which is
Yes,
a lot of light. I think it's like
absolutely,
19,
like
20
17
hours, is
hours.
it?
Yeah.
Uh, so it's and I think for me, and I'm just a wee bit further north than you. Like if
Yeah.
it's a bright night, it doesn't really get fully dark.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so that's right. And how are you doing with the slugs this year? You say you aren't
um,
too damp there. My everything's getting decimated by snails up here.
yeah, in my polytunnel, actually, that's where they're hiding. Outside, I'm not so bad. In my polytunnel, they seem to have made up a home there. So I've tried growing a few things in the polytunnel. They all got eaten. So the vine and the kiwi is doing fine in the polytunnel. All the other stuff is, well, it's actually it's full of weeds, but edible weeds. So things like garlic mustard and things like that, they self seed in there like mad, and they're I get something from it by February. I can make a salad. So, but other than that, yes, we have outside. We don't seem to have much of a slug problem.
Right. So let's get back on track. I'd love to hear more about your career and things like that. But maybe we'll get you back on again to discuss that. So we're here today to discuss the is it All Ireland Permaculture Gathering?
All Ireland Permaculture Gathering, yes, it's
Uh,
been yeah.
yeah, go and tell us the background of it and how it
It's
started.
it's been
And
happening since there was originally a woman called Susie Khan, but she's still about. She runs a permaculture project in the Wicklow Mountains, and she started it off in 2011 originally, and it was deliberately called All Ireland Permaculture Gathering. This is not supposed to be a political statement, but it's obviously we're one bioregion sort of thing. It makes more sense that the north and the south do stuff together rather than separate. Um, so I can't remember where the first one was. I wasn't involved. So basically, the first one in the north was in 2015, which I was involved with. We've since had one in Lough Neagh as well. Then, so yeah, basically since 2015, I've been, well, end of 14, I've been sort of part of the whole organizing structure. Susie has, in the meantime, retired from a position. And I was it's a bit like the cartoon where you have like a row of soldiers standing there, and the general goes, "Okay, I need a volunteer for the suicide mission," and everybody takes a step back, except for the idiot. And so I'm the idiot that's sort of kind of left behind with one other guy, Steve Golemboski Byrne, who runs a Lacken farm near Banbridge. Um, so him and myself are essentially the organizing committee. There's a couple of other people involved, but it's the two of us who are who run it mostly and look after the money and the bookings and things like that. So Steve runs the website, and so yeah, so that we didn't have one. Obviously, the 2020 that had to be cancelled, and they hadn't had one since, mostly because didn't have anybody coming forward with a venue. So this year we've had Celt come forward. They're a charity based down in Galway, and they've offered to host it this year. So the way this works, as a committee, we identify a venue, and then a local group that organizes the local gathering, and provides the infrastructure and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it'll be in Galway this year near Loughrea, at the Slieve Ochty Centre, which is um, like a holiday place, like an ecological holiday place. You can go horse riding there. They hire out cottages, and they've got fields where we can go, where we can have camping, and they have various other facilities. It was actually the best gathering we had so far in terms of facilities, because there's all the buildings there, so we can shelter from inclement weather, so to speak, which is not likely to happen, of course, this being Ireland. But
Yeah, it's like you're pretty much guaranteed rain.
there'll be workshops. The whole thing is pretty much just self-organizing. Once people turn up, people turn up on the Friday, and then Saturday morning we have a morning circle. We all get together, and then people propose workshops. Then, so it's totally self-organizing. So people just step forward and say, "I want to do a workshop on no-dig gardening." And either they have the skills and want to show something, or they don't. They just want to know more about it and say, "Hey, and I want to learn more about no dig gardening. I want to run a workshop on this. Anybody else who's got some experience with it may want to come and join, and we all chat about it, sort of thing, and or you can have a like a physical presentation, whatever, basket weaving, or whatever else comes to my mind, anything that's vaguely connected to permaculture in any way, or living on the land, is welcome, or philosophical questions, or uh, anything, basically. So, and it always works. The whole thing is self-organizing, as I say. We'll have some compost toilets there, and people volunteer to clean those out, and it's a no waste, well, basically no trace event. So people go and take whatever rubbish they produce back with them. And yeah, that's basically it. So it's a weekend of getting together, networking, and yeah, having fun. Be it with the music, campfire.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually getting to uh, meet a lot of people. That's the bit I'm looking forward to. The bit I'm not looking forward to is the self organizing bit. When I hear that, it always goes, ugh. Uh, so I struggle with things like that. So any advice for someone like me who struggles with that, and the sort of who's never been to an event like this, how do you sort of approach it the best way?
It works remarkably well. It really does. It's go with the flow, essentially. I mean, like, as I say, on the first morning circle, we'll ask for volunteers for various jobs that need doing. But so anybody, but basically the way they put it always, it's the perma is there's only has no passengers, just crew. So everybody is involved to chip in some way or other, sort of thing. If something needs doing, go ahead and bloody do it. So don't go and ask me, whatever. We haven't got the signage to the toilets is not very clear. Can you sort this out? So go draw a sign, put it up, and stuff like that. It works remarkably well. It's also every 2 years is the European Permaculture Convergence, and the Bulgarian one a few years ago. Went on the same principle, and it works remarkably well. Just go with the flow. If there's anything in particular that you want to talk about, then just sort of say, I'm doing a workshop and blah blah, and as I say, you don't have to be an expert on it, and people turn up for it, sort of thing. If people don't turn up, then there was no interest, sort of thing. I remember a few years ago there was somebody suggesting a workshop, whether the Earth is flat and what difference it would make to permaculture, and I think nobody turned up. So it might happen, But I mean, but yes, in general, it works remarkably well, and people get on, and it's really, really good. It's one of the nicest ways I've ever had a meeting. Sort of, don't have any keynote speakers or anything like that. It's the one thing that we have sometimes thought about. I mean, we had the European Permaculture Convergence in Wicklow as well a few years back, in 2019, I think, and there we had we had a hybrid. We had sort of some self-organizing, and we had some key speakers, because it was a slightly different thing, and also getting new people in, from outside the permaculture movement. They also ask, "Oh, what's the program?" And say, "There is no program." And then they go, "But what will there be? We don't know. We'll see what happens." But we did. I think at the last one at Loch Ness, uh, we did one rolling session of what is permaculture, that we took in turns to do a little presentation for any newbies that wanted to come along. Just to give an intro, so you don't get sort of thrown in at the deep end, sort of thing. But I mean, like, not everybody there will have a PDC. Not everybody there will have the same level of experience with permaculture. But um, it doesn't matter. We all have the same interests, really, in the end of the day, and it is mostly about networking and meeting people.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So it is for beginners. It's for all levels of people.
It's for all levels, absolutely all levels. Yep, yeah.
Yeah. Now for me, it's going to be a learning experience. So I'm not letting that put me off. So I would, I'll come out the other end of it, uh, experienced in self-organizing networks.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to it as well as that. So I'm bringing the whole family. We're all coming down. So
lovely.
kids are welcome as well, aren't they?
Absolutely. There will be some kind of kids program. The local group that we have one person they identified now who will oversee this. But again, that'll be one of the things of the opening circle, or we'll ask for volunteers to chip in for whatever, a couple of hours for an afternoon program or a morning program. There's a lovely little woodland with little fairies in there, and fairy doors, and all sorts of bits and pieces like that. If you like that sort of thing. But anyway, there's a woodland that's specifically designed for kids. So it's huge uh, property where we're going. There's also this sort of old style thatched roundhouse that builds somewhere in the woods. So there's lots of adventures to be had for kids, and yeah.
Yeah. And where do people get tickets for this? Is it?
Well, it's on the website, permaculture.ie. Um, we are we're going to have to restrict numbers this year, and there aren't many tickets left. So I'm not sure what numbers we're at now. So 30 or 40 tickets still available, but that's it then. So we're gonna have to cap it, unfortunately, this year. So we're to 200 basically.
That's great. Well, I'm really looking forward to that and getting to meet everybody. See, so the permaculture scene in Ireland, what did you think of that when you moved from Italy? You said you reached out to people. So basically, I'm coming from the point of I'm relatively new to permaculture, and then I started working for an American company, and I was
Right,
working for about a couple of years before I sort of started introducing myself around Ireland. So I've
right.
started to do that now. How did you find that transition?
Um, okay. The good news is there's lots of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the Permaculture Ireland Facebook page has something like 14,000 followers. Now, not all of them will actually live in Ireland, but there's a huge interest. There's a lot of people out there that are doing something related to permaculture. Not everybody defines it the same, but hey, they were all one big church sort of thing. um, the other thing I've learned about the Irish permaculture scene is that they're desperately badly organized. There's a big tendency towards anarchy here. and the resistance to anything centralized or organized, that's something we've been struggling with. One of the things that well, myself and Steve really want to get going this year at the gathering is to set up a proper permaculture association. There isn't one. I've been saying that for the last 10 years, and keep getting running into walls. And The thing is, though, that at this moment in time, I mean, basically, we take ticket money for these gatherings, and every year we have a surplus, which we use as a seed fund for the next gathering. Um, every year we've generated a surplus. Now the surplus is sitting in a brown envelope in the bottom of Steve's wardrobe.
not,
Um,
not Irish at all. Like,
Not at all. Which is great, but I mean, there's absolutely no transparency at this moment in time. People think we, the organizing committee, are some kind of mysterious mafia sort of thing, that makes up rules as we go along, and it's not the best way. At the very minimum, we need some kind of entity where we can open the bank account and actually throw that money into there and be accountable. We could have gone for a Caribbean holiday or something like that so far, but we haven't, and that money is there, and it needs a home. My wife's obviously disabled. We're on benefits. Steve gets some benefits as well, or it has tax implications if he just throws it into his personal account. Oh, where'd you go? Hello. Ah, there you are again. You disappeared there for a second.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So we got. You were saying. I think you're saying your wife's disabled. You were on.
Benefits, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I
Yeah,
lost you.
I mean, I can't throw that money into a personal account because that'll affect my benefits. That'll look like personal savings, sort of thing, and similarly with we don't want to throw it into a private account essentially. So we need an entity, ideally one registered in the south, and we need a bank account where we can throw that money at. But ideally, we want a bit more from an association. We want things like a regular newsletter that comes out, advertising events, and there's lots of little local groups going on. There's a little local group somewhere in Tipperary. There's one in Sligo. So there's various local networks that are happening around the country, and so basically, we want to make this all a bit more coherent, and so yeah, basically that's one of my aims for this gathering is to set up an association, get a few people together, share the load. I mean, because basically it's two of us doing all the work at the moment. And it just there's a time where you sort of start suffering from burnout, and I'm just basically fed up. And also there's always that small group of people that will criticize anything you do, sort of thing. Why does it? Why can we not bring meat to the place? Why can we not do this and that? And it's sort of you try to get everybody organized, and there's always somebody who'll criticize something. So.
Well,
Yeah.
if they're proper anarchists, they would go, well, he says I'm not allowed to cook meat. They did not say I'm not allowed to bring meat.
Yeah.
And you can sit in your tent and eat meat. Nobody's going to know.
Well, absolutely. This is it anyway. It's the thing. Sort of there'll be a communal campfire, and if we throw a steak onto that fire there, while there's a load of vegans sitting around, that's just simply not nice, sort of thing. If you're in the privacy of your own tent, have your meat. I mean, nobody's going to throw you out for that sort of thing. Similarly,
No sniffer dogs.
exactly, no sniffer dogs, or we're not searching anybody for that. I mean, the other one, the no alcohol rule. I mean, the premises where we're going to, actually, they have a wine bar on site. So if you go in there for a glass of wine or a beer, sort of thing, as long as you don't go totally misbehaving and whatever. I mean, there's obviously kids around, and we don't want any antisocial behavior. But if you have a whatever drink down in your tent or whatever, that nobody's going to give you any grief over that sort of thing. But I mean, it just sort of, there's a couple of rules that we should decide. There was one gathering, no alcohol rule was. There was one gathering that thought there was like a music festival type thing, and they just brought their tinnies and sat around the fire and got mindlessly drunk, and that's kind of not what we're trying to promote. But I mean, if you have whatever, after a long day, lots of talking, and have a beer down the tent, or even the wine bar or something like that, nobody's gonna give you any grief over it, sort of thing. So it's but yeah, you always have those people that complain, and then, I mean, sort of my answer to that is, well, if you think you can do it better, go ahead.
Well, I like them two philosophies. Basically, I feel free to take over, go away, go, and just work around the rules. Like nobody's.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's been difficult for me. Like, so my podcast, I have guests from all over, from Australia, the US, South America. It's been difficult getting Irish guests on.
Right.
Very difficult. I don't know, because they're so humble and
Yeah.
modest, or it's just they're just a bit shy.
I must admit, till you contacted us, I hadn't heard of you.
Yeah.
So it's probably getting into the circles, sort of thing. Once you go to the gathering, you'll meet a lot of people who are involved, and who are happy to talk. I mean, like, I can list quite a few people that are happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, like, Steve and I just kind of looked at each other and said, "Who's this Cormac guy?" Because I hadn't come across you, and you're in the north, sort of thing. We thought we know everybody, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a see. I've been doing remote designs in the US for an American
Right.
company. So I
That's permaculture design.
Yeah, permaculture design.
Oh, right.
So I just started designing there straight away, and then I sort of thought, after a couple of years, thought, well, no, I need to start doing local work and getting introduced locally. So
Yeah.
I am doing the diploma with the UK Permaculture Association. So we have an Irish permaculture group,
Right.
diploma group. So I'm getting to know people through that.
So you must know Hannah Mole,
Yeah, Hannah Mole's my um,
tutor.
tutor, and then Hannah, I went to Hannah and Joanne from Organic
Hmm.
Gardens. I went
Oh,
an
yes, John.
introduction to
Yep.
permaculture course with them, and
Right.
would have been 2019, I think.
Oh, right. Yes.
And then after that course, then I went and done a PDC.
Okay.
So that was good. So no Joanne, uh, Hannah,
Yes.
I've met in person.
Right.
I think that's it. Well,
Oh,
I'm
right.
hoping to get to
Okay.
know you more. I hopefully can
Yeah.
get involved in the Irish Permaculture Association as well.
Yeah,
So
would love to have you on board. I mean, the more the merrier. Basically, sort of the more people, the less work.
let's
You
work.
build a little ecosystem, basically, of people. And we have somebody in the south who's very. I mean, he's just come back from New Zealand, and he's been in touch with me, and he's very keen on setting something up, and so yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a few people anyway. So I mean, that we have made an attempt beginning of 2020, and of course, then the pandemic happened, and the sort of online meetings fizzled out. I'm a great believer in person meetings. At least once in a while, sort of thing. You can do so much I mean, sort of like this whole co-housing thing that I'm involved with. Most of it is because we're designing it together as a group, and there's most of it is online, but we're making a point of having in-person meetings as often as possible because you get so much more done in an in-person meeting sort of thing. 1 2 hour in-person meeting, you get more done than in four online meetings. It just makes it so much easier. So this is great to have this technology and me talking to you here while you're sitting in Derry and I'm sitting in Portaferry. But it's in person makes a big difference, which is why we're hoping to launch at the gathering where there's actual faces to be seen.
Great stuff. I'm not. I haven't really. I haven't done an in person podcast recording yet. I've been playing about with equipment, and it's something I might be able to do quite very soon. So
Yeah,
maybe for your interview, I'll get up to Portaferry for
sure.
that.
Yeah,
Spend the day and come up. I did chat to Guest Sonono. He's in Newry. Do you know
right.
Guest? Guest just moved from Zimbabwe to Newry.
All right. No, don't know.
Yeah. So I work with him for the American company. So
All
I've met
right.
up with him. He's looking to find places. So I'll definitely point him in your direction. He's looking to go visit places. Maybe we'll come together and go down and
Yeah,
see.
absolutely.
That'd be great. You mentioned there. Do you want to tell us about the Portaferry co-housing project?
Yeah, it's the first co-housing project on the island of Ireland. It's kind of co-housing is like a concept that was invented in Denmark in the 70s. It's basically communal living, call it, but it's not a commune. So you have your private space, as well as a common house where you can gather and have meals together, or not all meals necessarily. Oh, no, definitely not. In fact, and there's elements of an eco village in this as well because we're looking at low impact building and well insulated housing and solar power, communal garden. We purchased plot of land, 13 and a half acres in Portaferry, which were earmarked for development. We then spent about a year and a half designing the place, all on consensus basis. We've got a really good architect on board, Murray Bell from Ballymena. So he's very much into eco buildings. So all the houses are like sort of orientated towards the south for maximum sun exposure, rather than traditionally that built houses here are built along the road. We're building them so they're facing south. We don't care where the road is. Most of the site is going to be pedestrianized. It's going to be 32 houses, varying sizes from 1 to 4 5 bedroom, plus a common house. The common house will have a large dining room where everybody can get together, a kitchen, a child's play area, like a hot desk office, guest rooms. So it's got sort of, it's supposed to be like a hub for everything. Sort of all the post and all the deliveries go to the sorry,
No problem. Do
go
you want
to
to take a
the
glass of water?
common house. Um,
Yeah, well,
all the deliveries and post goes to the common house. The parking is centralized, and so people don't park outside their houses. So that, again, encouraging a bit of community. So you park up your car and you walk back to your house and you bump into your neighbors and you stop for a wee chat. And but everybody owns their private little house. Some people will be buying to rent out. So there will be places to rent as well for those who can't afford to get on the housing ladder. And now I've run out of water. Um, uh, so yeah, basically it's community at its heart, basically. But with your own private house, you get a freehold and a little garden, and there will be, as I say, a communal gardens to grow food on. There is a food forest. There's woodland. We've already planted over 2,000 trees on there, mostly native trees, plus some fruit trees. And so yeah, it's a really exciting project. We're now after designing it for a year and a half, and we put in planning permission planning permission last January, last year January. So we've had some very positive noises from the planners. They're all ready to go ahead, except Northern Ireland Water are dragging their feet. So we have to come up with a solution what to do with our wastewater. And of course, they want us to use the most expensive option. So, but yeah, that's where it's sticking on at the moment. We're getting a water consultant out to give us solutions to our problem there. And as soon as we have the solution, we should be getting planning permission and hoping to build by next spring.
Wow, that is good news. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. And we
Yeah.
get you back on. We'll go through the details. So I'm sure it's intriguing, the planning process and the hurdles. Well worth sharing with other people your experience there.
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird things like I mean, sort of one of the things that we're planning to do is car sharing. So the central car park has basically just over one car park per household, and the planning authorities they like to see 2.5 car parks per household. So we won't need that. We'll be car sharing sort of thing. So have 3 cars for one car for 3 households rather than 3 for one. So especially when we're living on the edge of Portaferry, so most of the shops are walking distance. So you might want to go up the road to Newton Arts or down Patrick or something for some bigger shopping every now and then, but this maybe once a week, once a fortnight or something. So I mean, like, why have a car sitting there, paying the taxes and paying the insurance and all that, when 99% of the time it's just sitting there, So I may as well share cars with other households. So yeah.
Yeah, me and the wife tried to go down to one car. It is very, very challenging. Uh, I was lucky enough at certain times I could get the bus from where I was to my work.
Yeah.
That worked out okay. But it was when you had to go collect kids.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a challenge, especially in a big city. It's getting moved about. This I was picking them up from somewhere was probably too far. Well, it was just a challenge. We'll not get into the details, but it was definitely challenging, and we had to go back to 2 cars basically,
Right.
which was disappointing. But maybe we'll try it again
Yeah.
another
I mean,
time.
where I live at the moment is 3 miles out of Portaferry, so I'm kind of reliant on the car. I use it every day at the moment. But once we're moving closer to Portaferry itself, I'll barely use it. I barely need it. But then again, I don't have a job, so I need it for whatever. Take the dog for a walk on the beach or something, Or so
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I certainly don't need more than a quarter of a car.
Yeah. Uh, I go. That's great. So just to summarize, All Ireland Gathering, it's outside Galway in
Yep.
Sleeve, Ori, Centre.
Yep. Yep.
Camping's available. There's other accommodation available,
Yep.
and
And
it's what dates?
yeah. I knew you were going to ask me that one. 2020. Hang on, where are we?
26th, is it?
24th to 24th, 25th.
Yeah.
24th, 25th.
So I'm arriving down on the 23rd, uh,
Yep.
and then circle in the morning. We're self-organizing.
Yep.
2 days of permaculture.
Exactly. Yep. That's it.
Great
Fantastic.
stuff. And
See you
I
there.
just put the
Mm.
website up there again. So it's the All
Yep.
Ireland Gathering, and tickets are running out fast. So if you're on the fence, just get your ticket and get down there.
Absolutely,
Uh,
it's always a great event. I mean, it's people feel recharged and everything. It's a good event.
that's great. And guys, that's been Heiko Vermeulen on the Permaculture Vine podcast about the All Ireland Permaculture Gathering. And we'll get Heiko back on. Hopefully in person if I go up to Portaferry. It's about 2 hours and a bit away. Maybe the first in person podcast.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Heiko, thanks very much.
Thanks, Cormac.
Cheers.
Good to meet you.